The Aztecs, one of the last great civilizations of pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. Their ruins still exist in Mexico City. Poking up is a reminder that the Aztecs are still with us.
It's so vibrant, it's so real, it's unbelievable.
Their living legacy lies in their cuisine.
Ancient food with a modern face.
Preserved and passed down by Aztec descendants.
Unbelievable. Puffy little meaty marshmallows. I love the spinal column.
Ancient foods and culinary techniques still survive along the Aztec Trail.
The flavor of this dish is insane. This is Mexican food.
Imparting ageless wisdom that could improve our modern world.
And you had a superior technology here.
It's just mind-boggling. I'm Andrew Zimmern, and this is Bizarre Foods.
These great towns and temples seemed like an enchanted vision. For 2 centuries, the Aztecs ruled over one of the most advanced empires the world has ever known. The Mexica, the dominant Aztec tribe, along with their allies, conquered and united dozens of separate city-states, spreading their religion, language, and customs throughout central Mexico from the Pacific to the Gulf coasts.
It's striking, turning a corner from a big colonial historical space in the city, and 3 blocks away is an Aztec ruin.
Exactly.
Despite their military prowess, Aztec history changed forever when the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés landed on the Yucatan Peninsula in 1519. Cortés allied with Aztec enemies and also brought an invisible weapon, smallpox, which proved lethal to thousands of natives. Defeated in 3 short years, the surviving Aztecs were forced into slave labor and made to reduce their sacred city, Tenochtitlan, to rubble and rebuild a new colonial capital, Mexico City, now a teeming metropolis of 21 million.
Mexico is 3 different countries, north, center, and south. It's very different, one side from the other.
Fernando Benitez, an old colleague who's a Chilango, a Mexico City native, knows this area well.
Even driving along one of the more modern cities, I'm constantly reminded of the ancient world. It's like Mexico is always shifting, always changing, always evolving.
Yeah, and still.
The rapid conquest of the Aztecs is thought to be one of the most successful military campaigns in history, but that ignores the obvious reality that the Spanish in some ways failed to completely erase this remarkable society. The true building blocks of Aztec culture were not in their impressive temples, but in their foods, which have endured. Maize, beans, seeds, wild greens, and native fruits and vegetables, the main elements of Aztec cuisine, continue to nourish millions of Mexicans every day.
Everything tastes better that grows here. Really does.
Aztec culture still dominates the small agricultural towns that circle the capital.
Tepoztlán became famous is because of the energy they have, the history of the Aztecs that they have.
46 miles south of Mexico City, on an old Aztec trade route, is the town of Tepoztlán, surrounded by fertile lands that were first farmed by the Aztecs' ancestors.
The most important thing for the people in Tepoztlán is to keep the town as it is.
The village has always been famed for its indigenous resistance. Cortés burned it to the ground after the residents refused to surrender. The locals now protest corporate development, saving their town's unique character and providing a rare opportunity to experience the remains of Aztec culture.
It's food they recollect in the mountain, food they harvest here. They try to do it as much as possible similar as the ancient way.
The Aztecs believed in the divine power of this mountain valley. They claimed it was the birthplace of Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent god of wind and learning.
With so many people over so many thousands of years, they've put their energy into it.
The town is named after another Aztec deity, the god of fertility, Tepoztecatl. The ruin of his mountain pyramid still presides over the main square.
I was looking back at the pyramid that's up there, and I was imagining 700, 800 years ago, some Aztec warriors and some holy people sitting up there looking down into the valley. I think they would just be absolutely shocked at what's remained behind of their culture. But they'd recognize some of the food.
That's had continuity. The markets would be familiar as well.
Yeah, the prices are a little
higher.
spendier. Yeah.
Inflation.
Tepoztlan's main market is a food adventurer's paradise, allowing you to see the world through Aztec eyes while tasting the same ancient foods that fed their civilization.
We have the old and the new, but the setup is exactly like the markets you would have had in the empire.
Bill Esparza, a James Beard Award-winning journalist, is an expert on Mexico's regional cuisines.
Beautiful.
There's like tons of different types of corn.
Yeah, there's over 60 original types.
The Aztecs considered maize, or corn, a holy food, incorporating many varieties of the staple's preparation into every single meal. Ears range from a couple of inches to a foot in length, in colors that include white, red, yellow, blue, and black. Some varieties even have multiple colors on one ear. It was first cultivated here in central Mexico over 7,000 years ago and remains a baseline of contemporary Mexican cuisine.
Look at that.
Before sugarcane was imported and sugar became one of Mexico's #1 products, Aztecs relied on native fruits for sweetness, such as grenadilla, a cousin of the passion fruit.
It's local as well.
It's what a passion fruit wants to be when it grows up.
I love the funkiness of it.
Plus, just the way you eat it, it's like licking cream cheese out of a cup.
You don't have to say farm to table here. They've been doing this for thousands of years.
Incredible. Stunning array of pre-colonial vegetables. Just gorgeous.
At its pinnacle, the remarkable accomplishments of the Aztecs was stunning. To be able to see glimpses of that culture still alive in Mexico is inspiring and prescriptive.
I mean, look at this. This says it all. The secret to feeding our world is hidden in plain sight in the ancient world. Easy to grow, easy to store, inexpensive, high protein, really good for you.
You need the traditional diet, a tortilla, beans, chiles, you have complete nutrition.
Protein-rich seeds were an essential part of the Aztec diet. Warriors and traders traveled hundreds of miles with chia seeds as their only food source. Pumpkin seeds were another portable staple.
This is an Aztec superfood.
Smokiness is beautiful.
No salt. This is the food that sustained empires.
Ayahuascli, and it means toasted seed in Nahuatl.
To see it here in the market, called by its original name, avoids the 700-800 years of literal whitewashing.
Right. This is resistance right here.
You could spend a year investigating this place.
Pre-Hispanic ingredients and dishes are found throughout this market. If you want an all-encompassing experience of Aztec America, head to El Tlequil, a teeny food stall run by Ruby Marquina and her husband, Arturo Rico. El Tlequil is the Aztec Nahuatl name for the traditional cooking stove of Ruby's ancestors. Ruby made a deliberate choice to take inherited recipes, hidden in local kitchens for centuries, to the public.
So these are all just fritters of mixed vegetables and flours, all pre-Hispanic.
Pinole de maíz, semillas de chía, amaranto y pulque de maguey.
Tlaltecadas are handmade pancakes that embody the heart of Aztec cuisine, with all the ingredients personally foraged by Ruby and her family. Their base consists of a corn powder mixed with chia seeds and flavorful minerals leached from a local lake rock called tequesquite.
Y son recetas ancestrales, a través de ellas nos recuerdan el amor a la tierra y el amor que la tierra tiene para nosotros.
When I sit here at a stand like this and I look at 100 different ingredients that I've never even seen or tasted before, and the combinations and the history that's behind it, it's so humbling.
Well, the natives were forbidden to forage anymore. One of the ways to kill a culture is to erase all memories of their food.
So it goes from that extreme of removing the people from their food to remaking the cuisine.
A complex salsa made from roasted cicadas, flying ants, crickets, beetles, and chilies is a rare delicacy.
The crunchy toastiness of the bugs are just so gorgeous.
Oh, good God. You get all their herbal flavors, plus the sweet.
And the smokiness of them, the citrus.
Each of these vitamin-rich insects contains over 50% protein. They were an incredibly efficient energy source for Aztecs, who relied on running as their main mode of transport.
That's magnificent.
The Spanish enslaved the Aztecs and used them as forced labor on their ranches, growing crops and tending to imported livestock that changed the Mexican landscape forever. Ruby's family defied this rule and continued their local culinary traditions, albeit on a much smaller scale.
God, so good.
And the one with the greens is just the most gorgeous combination of sweet and bitter.
We always talk about the spice trade, how it influenced, but we already had all these flavors.
The amaranth grain fritter is a tangible reminder of Aztec resistance. Protein-rich amaranth was an Aztec staple and also a sacred culinary ritual. Cortez outlawed the crop.
This is so complex.
So good.
This is the cuisine of an advanced civilization.
What's the #1 hottest thing right now in the States? You know, vegetable burgers, meatless patties. Companies are coming out with these, insane products in test tubes, and it's growing all around us. It's ground seeds.
The Spanish outlawed the Aztecs from hunting the wild game that sustained them for centuries. Ruby's cuisine brings this history full circle. Boar was a Spanish import, but this one has been harvested from the wild and cooked with native cactus, pineapple, chia seeds, and peppers, turning it into a delicious taste of the past.
Oh my God. The pork is delicious. It's wild. It doesn't have that swiney flavor. The flavor of this dish is insane. This is Mexican food.
Venison, sautéed with freshly picked fruits, flowers, and herbs, is transformative.
Local flowers.
The plums.
Wow. If you fed this to a great chef of Europe, he would recognize the fruit, and the wild rosemary just makes that sweet, wonderful sauce that you want with game meat. But this eats as tenderly as poultry. It's amazing. The Aztec culture is very much alive on the plate.
Yeah.
She's already passing it to the next generation. She's teaching her daughters how to keep the tradition.
Es un tipo de cocina muy rebelde, muy aferrada. Sobrevivió a todos los tropiezos.
The greatest honor is to be the child that receives the recipes. The food gets passed on to the most trusted family member to preserve the histories.
Let her know I put this right up there in one of the greatest meals I've ever eaten.
Es un honor a su mejor herencia, que es esta cocina.
We don't speak the same language, but we understand love.
Gracias por venir a saborearnos.
Gracias.
Ruby's true culinary genius is best seen in her traditional home kitchen.
The philosophy is, if what you're eating is beautiful, you will become beautiful.
You are what you eat.
One does not live forever on this earth. We endure only for an instant.
Quizás te citlalino, cuicatitis, lecano, igual.
Ruby Marquina creates the pre-Columbian masterpieces that she sells in the Tepoztlan market in her open-air kitchen, an exact replica of an Aztec hearth.
Tlequil is the heart of the house, and one of the rules is that the fire has to be on always. You cannot turn it off. And Tlequil means smoke kitchen.
Ruby connects with her Aztec ancestors daily when she forages in the hills around her home to recreate these ancient recipes.
All of the food products here, they gather or grow.
Todos de acá.
Sí, todo es de aquí.
Even the wild honey?
Yeah.
Flavor of this, it's almost citric from the flowers that are created.
She also follows a core Aztec principle of honoring the earth, with each ingredient taking on a sacred meaning.
Las piedras, decían mis abuelas, nos transmiten la fuerza. Las hierbas si crecen de forma libre, y si comemos, somos silvestres también.
This is a much better way to think about food. To be able to take in nutrition is really something we take for granted.
Aztecs thank their gods daily for providing sustenance, and most ceremonies centered around a feast.
Es un agradecimiento que nosotros damos a la vida, a la naturaleza, por alimentarnos.
Preparing these recipes is a ritual, and the tools to do so are a concrete link to the past.
How old is this metate?
500 años.
500 years?
A metate that's 500 years old I've seen in museums. All of the tools, everything is so deeply personal.
Ruby is preparing Tochti Chilte Metlan, 7 chili rabbit, a culinary tribute to the town's namesake, Tepoztecatl. As a god, he was commonly represented as a drunken rabbit.
They're wild rabbits.
Of course they are. She didn't go down to Rabbits R Us and pick them up, you know, $5 for $1.
The care that Ruby puts into her food is out of respect for her lineage and its survival.
So think about the people that metate has fed before us.
Cooking these same recipes.
Animals and humans were eaten as sacred communion and presented as offerings to the Aztec deities who had sacrificed themselves to give their people life. Our only offering tonight is respect for the foods that built this culture.
Food moves across time.
Definitely.
Period.
Si esta olla hablara, es la olla con la que yo, pues con mis hermanos toda la vida.
The shame would be if we didn't learn to respect our food, respect our systems around us.
The rabbit is bathed in a sauce of wild herbs, chia seeds, avocado, and seared with cactus on the comal, a pre-Hispanic griddle.
Por nuestra región nos enfocamos mucho a las hierbas silvestres y a los insectos.
Wild herbs and insects.
Insects represented the soul and resurrection in Aztec mythology. In our secular modern world, they're not only healthy, they're abundant.
That's the future. That's where we're going to be.
Picture, exactly.
Debs, we're going back to the past.
We are going to go back.
A salsa made with stink bugs, locally known as humiles, is simple, mashed with fresh tomatoes, but the taste is surprisingly complex.
Suelta. Un aroma a hierba.
Yeah, well, it's the smell of stink bugs are not stinky.
Oh, that smell. Tutti frutti.
It's like gumdrops. Insects have like 5 or 6 different flavors. The sweet, the bitter, the citric, and the acid in the tomato just blooms them out. I love it. Do you know what my new mantra is in the kitchen?
What's that?
WWRD. What would Ruby do?
Squash blossoms add some sweetness to the stew, while pulque, the fermented sap of the agave plant, is a fitting and final addition to the braise.
So this is rabbit with 7 chilies?
Yeah.
I only counted 6 types going in. I feel a little ripped off. I was wrong. There are 7 chilies in there. I can smell them.
The god Tepozteotl, also associated with the moon, would appreciate the timing of our dinner.
Wild rabbit in an ancient way. Any of you guys stir around in that pot and grab a liver?
I didn't. You got one?
Of course.
I did get the head, though.
Oh, good for you. That 7 pepper sauce is glorious. The meat of the rabbit is so sweet, and the sauce is so acidic and spicy. It's amazing.
Everything has a little touch of smoke.
You just cannot get a better glimpse into a culture than through food.
I agree with you.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. I'm so grateful.
Gracias.
Aztec ways are still celebrated, spoken, and eaten in Xochimilco.
That is just gorgeous.
In the heart of Mexico City, Chef Pablo Salas is celebrating pre-Hispanic foods in his newest acclaimed restaurant.
This is just brilliant, beautiful cooking.
It's the liberation of the taco.
Let me not be angry that the grandeur of Mexico is to be destroyed. 60 miles from Tepoztlan is the small town of Tres Marias, which overlooks the Mexico Valley Basin.
I love finding these little villages where you can sort of squint and you're eating food that was eaten here 1,000 years ago. There's active volcanoes. Everything is always moving and changing, and it's a metaphor for those Aztec gods that I think still live in and around these mountains.
There's some magic. There's something special about it.
Local farmers used to sell their wares in the markets of the Aztec capital, a 3-day journey on foot. They still grow many of the same crops and now stock the roadside restaurants called comedores that flank the main road.
When there are signs dotting the road for every food imaginable, you know you're getting close.
Totally.
Tres Marias is a popular weekend spot for Chilangos, Mexico City residents who are craving homemade regional specialties.
Tres Marias. 'cause I love you.
Los Faroles is one of the oldest comedores, springing up in 1924 to feed hungry travelers on the newly established modern interstate. The restaurant is still family-owned and operated, currently run by Gabriela Gonzalez Ramos.
100 years of hospitality wisdom
Yes.
are here, and 1,000 years of culinary expertise.
Totally.
Between everything on the comal, the cooked fillings, the 5 soups, the chocolate and the coffee simmering, the smell.
It's amazing.
Quesadillas and tacos, modern comfort foods that have existed since before the Aztecs. Corn tortillas were the only utensils in pre-Columbian culture used to pick up or envelop various ingredients. This quesadilla is stuffed with huitlacoche, a corn fungus with the unsavory Nahuatl name of raven's poop.
Look at that with a little piece of avocado. That looks really nice.
The Aztecs discovered the mold had a rich, smoky flavor and turned this agricultural blight into a culinary blessing.
The last taste down your mouth is that mushroomy huitlacoche flavor.
Modern Mexican chefs have coined a more appetizing nickname, black gold.
I love that funky finish that it has.
Mix the flavors.
Delicioso.
A longaniza taco is the best of both worlds. Ground pork, a Spanish import, combined with native greens and chilies in a sweet and spicy link.
Half and half.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The sausage itself, though, is so good. And it's just sitting there roasting slowly, so it just gets dry and crumbly, and all the fat comes out of it. It's gorgeous. That's a great taco.
Wow.
Sopa de medula, spinal cord soup, is a specialty you can't miss. Chunks of connective nerves from a cow's spinal column balanced in a light, spicy broth.
Wow.
You have to come to a mountainous town like this with a long history of raising animals, because otherwise you're not going to find spine soup.
Exactly. It comes from generations.
The Spanish brought cattle ranching to this area. Prior to colonization, the Aztecs raised turkeys, dogs, and ducks, but meat was reserved for royalty or special occasions.
So tender. Very good.
Unbelievable. Puffy little meaty marshmallows. I love the spinal column because the meat that's there is similar to marrow, but firmer and not as fatty. Food just doesn't get any better than this.
Tres Marias offers a timeless taste of the Mexican countryside. Travel 28.5 miles north, and you'll end up in Xochimilco, a bustling suburb of Mexico City and one of Bill Esparza's favorite places.
You know, right here in the city, you get the indigenous culture.
It reminds me of what this city really is all about, which is water.
Xochimilco was once an island on a giant freshwater lake. The Mexica built their capital 15 miles north on another island guided by a divine spiritual vision. Lake Texcoco, however, was a swampy saltwater marshland. Xochimilco, a flourishing village, was quickly conquered and soon became the Aztecs' breadbasket.
This is beautiful, pristine product.
Yeah.
Farmers would transport their goods via a sophisticated canal system to the capital. Now, their descendants bring their produce to the neighborhood market.
One of my favorite parts of this market, bar none. It's unbelievable. An art form.
Mole is a dish predating even the Aztecs. There are over 300 types of moles in common use today, but the reality is there are limitless combinations.
There's the guasole.
And they just take the entire sheaf of herby vegetables.
Stem it all.
Guazantle is a close cousin to the wild greens in Ruby's tlatecadas. They've been battered, fried, and doused in a homemade almond mole.
This is the stuff. God, it's so gorgeous. And you see piles of it in the market everywhere. It's so sweet and delicious tasting. It's my new favorite vegetable.
These wild greens, so full of complex, bittersweet, and floral flavors, are a testament to traditional farming over factory-grown produce.
But this almond one with these vegetables is just crazy good. The cheese, the greens, you know.
It's a wonderful compliment.
You're hard-pressed to find this anywhere else but here.
That is amazing. The Aztecs ate pretty well.
Yeah, they did.
You can follow the Aztecs from this market back to their ancient farms that are more sophisticated than many modern agribusinesses.
This is crazy. Gorgeous.
Nothing but flowers and songs of sorrow are left, where once we saw warriors and wise men. By the time the Spanish arrived, Tenochtitlan was one of the world's largest and most sophisticated cities. In order to feed their growing population, the Aztecs built over 35 square miles of artificial islands in Lake Xochimilco that served as farms. These islands, called chinampas, were created from the fertile soil of the lake and could be cultivated year-round.
People who come to Mexico City don't understand the Aztecs built on a lake.
Yeah.
And created a canal system.
When Spain finished its conquest, they didn't say, let's keep it this way, because this is a great, efficient system. Yeah. It's sustainable.
Yeah. Well, they had no idea.
No.
When floods inundated the new colonial capital, the Spanish drained the surrounding lakes and canals, changing the landscape forever.
There's commercial traffic, but then you see a farmer bringing stuff back to the little piece of land that he farms. It's just breathtaking.
Only 1,200 acres remain of what was once a system of waterways that far surpassed medieval Venice.
And you had a superior technology here.
Pedro Capultitla and his brother Felipe have been farming these waters for untold generations. They grow 7 seasonal crops from their family's heirloom seeds, employing age-old Aztec methods that are still innovative and efficient. Eco-friendly and outstanding, the broccoli, kale, cauliflower, chard, spinach, onions, and radishes are all grown with extreme care.
Look at what they grow here. It's just mind-boggling.
Con el mismo sistema de los aztecas, es el mismo sistema que se maneja. Cambian los implementos, los utensilios, pero la técnica sigue siendo la misma, la básica.
The brothers rely on the nutrient-rich mud from the bottom of the lake to plant their seedlings.
This is how you make the most fertile soil. You put something in here and it's going to explode out of the ground.
The lake mulch is so rich that crops grow at an accelerated rate, and digging up the mud also ensures that the surrounding waters don't stagnate.
Pedro, is this 1 month?
Sí.
This is crazy. Gorgeous.
This small farm is 100% sustainable, using water that's seeped up through the mud, a little manpower, and all-natural fertilizer.
How many in each hole?
¿Cuánto necesita poner?
5, 8.
They're having you put more because they just don't want you to mess up.
Well, that's correct.
Pues de esto se tapa.
Tapa con...
Ajá, con este abono de caballo.
Well, there we go. There's the fertilizer.
Yeah.
Once the seedlings are sprouted, they're transplanted into drier, firmer soil, and the next crop will take their place.
Mom needs an onion, so she just comes and picks one.
Tiene otro sabor.
Eat the other half of that. It's sweet at the beginning. And then all of that sulfuric power just hits you like a freight train. And then it has like that radishy bitterness.
It's being close to your food.
This is a symphony.
This farm is currently tended by 3 generations. The children help out in the fields, while Mom and Grandma cook the daily harvest and sell the rest at the Xochimilco market.
And if your kids are going to play in the mud, this is the best way to do it.
The best. You come out and you see how much heart and soul and family and history and tradition goes into growing the food you eat, and you have a lot more respect for the food that's on the table.
These last remaining farms provide a large-scale solution to many problems that plague our modern world: pollution, waste, and wetland preservation. Today, it's also given us lunch.
This is ancient world cooking.
Tlapiques are traditional tamales, corn husks filled with a small freshwater white fish similar to tilapia, along with onion, chile, tomatillo, and cilantro, then wrapped in corn and roasted in and on top of the fire. Mixte mole is a stew made from canal fish and seasoned with cactus paddles, tomatillos, and epazote, a leafy, earthy, fragrant green. Several salads, from avocado salad with quilites, wild greens, to fava beans and homemade cheese round out the meal.
That's the ticket right there. It's like the centerfold in a food magazine.
That's Mexican style right there.
This is the utensil.
Yep.
Este es el tenedor, cuchara, todo.
The fish in the tortilla is just amazing.
Wow.
The perfume from the burnt husks and those tomatillos and onions have just seared themselves into the skin. It's as good as food gets. Oh my God. Grab a spoon, buddy. That's gonna blow your mind. Am I right?
We're beyond Mole 101 at this point.
This mole is just salty and green and fishy and
Yeah.
amazing.
This food is born out of a true family effort and an ancestral tie to this land and its crops. It's even more inspiring to see that these pre-colonial customs will be carried on.
Are you going to take over the family business here? See? Bravo.
También que los hijos sigan con lo que dejamos, que sigan con la tradición, porque ya no hay, ya somos pocos los que somos chinamperos, ya hay pocos.
You know what we say where I'm from? We say, God bless this food and the hands that made it. And in this case, it's the hands that grew it and made it.
Gracias.
There's hidden history in Latin America's largest capital city.
This is what 1,000-year-old food looks like in 2017.
Cortez ordered that the pyramid be demolished, the idols broken, the city razed. Only a half-hour's drive north lands you right in the heart of Mexico City. The squares of the Centro are gathering spots, and the Zocalo itself, now the seat of Mexican government, used to be the Aztec spiritual and political center. The last Aztec ceremony took place here in 1520. Spanish soldiers slaughtered the celebrants and murdered the emperor Moctezuma.
So many people come to Mexico City and don't get to walk in the sun in these little plazas tucked away in real neighborhoods. Then you get this awesomeness.
This is the Plaza Santo Domingo, where Bill Esparza knows the Aztec spirit is still alive.
Street food, this is what we're here for.
The smell of corn cooking on a griddle with fat is everywhere.
The Spanish were amazed at the variety of street vendors when they arrived in Tenochtitlan. Modern Mexico City has carried on this Aztec legacy with hundreds of thousands of food stalls and carts.
So, this is the world's smallest restaurant.
Taco de guisado.
I mean, this is some kind of setup.
Tacos de guisado, braised meats and vegetables wrapped in a tortilla, are a popular grab-and-go snack for the locals. Tortitas de pollo, battered chicken pancakes, pork ribs, and chicharrones are 3 of their mouth-watering selections. They're also a handheld piece of history.
Wow, that's out of sight.
Try this with the chile morita.
That's really good. Those chilies are fantastic.
Yeah.
This is why we know that people were eating tacos here forever. Because if you had a flat piece of masa cooked in a comal, you would put anything in it.
There was no silverware. There was the tortilla. The technique, using chiles and tacos, these are all pre-Hispanic things.
Sure. The variety of chiles gives simple street foods a surprising complexity. Pork and chicken, post-impact meats, are transformed when covered in 3 different ancient salsas: chile morita, chile verde, and chile prensado.
Morita is one of the smoky ones, really close to chipotle, but without that heavy, overwhelming, smoky adobo flavor.
I love it. It is beautiful to taste 3 different chilies in 3 different preparations. That smoky, sweet, and hot flavor that's on the ribs is much different than the guajillo that's here on the chicharron.
These peppers also reflect the size of the Aztec Empire. Jalapenos in chile morita and chile verde originated 250 miles away on the Gulf Coast and were brought in as trade goods.
We don't have to go to a little pueblo, a remote town to find pre-Hispanic food. It's alive right here in the center of town.
Vendors have been selling their wares on these streets since the pre-Hispanic era, but the hub of daily life has always been found in Mexico City's markets. The Mercado Merced, only a few minutes' drive away, is one of the largest, spanning over 50 blocks. It's also one of the oldest, dating back to before the Spanish arrival.
What I love about this part of the city is there's 100 microeconomies and cultures operating here.
Yeah.
It's so vibrant, it's so real. is unbelievable.
20 to 40,000 Aztecs visit Tenochtitlan's main market each day, and its vast array of goods astounded the Spanish. The merchandise may be different, but many ancient foods are still for sale. The chaos of Merced would surprise the Aztecs. Their market was extremely organized.
So this is very nice. You can get a reading and a cleansing before you come to buy all your ingredients for mole. Easy on that fish, buddy.
Yeah. Just a couple of guys, some sweets, and a bunch of bees.
This is the preserved and candied fruit area of the market. If you can brave the buzzing, the rewards are plentiful, like these sugary limes stuffed with coconut, a post-colonial treat.
These two flavors go so well together, and people all around the world combine them, from Mexico to Thailand.
I think there's
India.
a song.
Well, these guys put the coconut in the lime and mix it all up. They got it backwards.
Y eso es muy típico allá.
Ah, sí, esto es lo tradicional allá.
Chile tole can be sweet or savory, consisting of corn with a dash of jalapeno pepper and thickened with masa, corn flour.
This makes the sweet versions taste like child's food. The chili, the lime, the herbs that are in there, the corn.
This was a meal. You would have this with tortillas.
Masa was made by soaking corn in limestone prior to grinding it. This improved its flavor and added calcium and protein, another example of Aztec ingenuity.
Is the technique that really changed the cuisine. It spawned this whole culture of masa.
The Mercado Merced is a feast for the senses, an amalgam of the old and new foods of this ancient city. Pablo Salas is a Mexican modernist inspired by the ancient Aztecs.
Amazing, double amazing, mind blower.
Yeah.
When we die, truly we die not, because we will live, we will rise. Mexico City is a capital of contrasts. Drive just 7 miles west from the madness of the Mercado Merced, and you'll land in Polanco, the city's most elite neighborhood. Polanco is home to Chef Pablo Salas's newest venture, a casual eatery called Comedor Público.
He's part of the new generation of Mexican chefs that they're getting their training here in Mexico. They're staying here, they're learning Mexican techniques.
Until recently, the European style of cooking dominated Mexico's restaurant scene, and Pablo Salas worked with the chefs, the culinary pioneers that broke the mold. He's the next generation. He classifies his cooking as Mexiquense, a modern interpretation of traditional Hispanic cuisine, and works with UNESCO to protect and promote his country's gastronomic history.
It's great seeing them take on these indigenous foods and treats and play around with it.
When you're growing up in Mexico and that's your culture, they can play with their food in a way that outsiders can't.
Pablo is reintroducing elements of Aztec cooking that's still eaten in markets, vendor stalls, and kitchens to his restaurant patrons. He's transformed simple street food into fine art without the trappings of a five-star restaurant.
I just love something called sweaty tacos.
Sweaty tacos, or tacos sudados, are one of Mexico's universal fast foods, named for the steamy towels that keep them warm and seal in their fillings. Chef Salas's version features oxtail, one of the most flavorful and texturally complex cuts of the animal.
Look at the gorgeous meat pulled from the tail. It's so rich. There's no other cut on the animal that tastes like that.
Pablo honors pre- and post-colonial Mexico by using beef, imported by the Spanish, in one of Mesoamerica's oldest staples, the tortilla.
And this is just brilliant, beautiful cooking.
It's the liberation of the taco.
A chili relleno, invented in the 19th century, is turned on its ear. Salas stuffs the ancho with the cheese tamale and covers it with a savory black bean and chili emulsion.
That's crazy.
The flavor of the ancho is so
It's gorgeous. The tartness of the cheese with that earthy, melting bean sauce is just an incredible combination.
Those beans are full of flavors in there.
Pablo's dishes prove that Aztec cuisine was in no way crude. Their main ingredients, maize, beans, and chilies, have a range of flavors that would fit into even the most elegant recipe.
Deceptively brilliant.
If my 800-year-old Aztec grandfather traveled through time to be here,
Right.
he would recognize this dish. The Aztecs didn't consume much meat, but they would have eaten grilled native squash doused in a pumpkin seed mole. All of that smoke and char, that's absolutely glorious.
Mark of a great Mexican chef, mastering the moles and pipianes and using that in a different way.
Yeah.
This is the Aztec technique, smoke, cooking over fire. This is warrior food.
It is ancient food with a modern face. As tribute to the ancient Aztecs, Pedro's menu includes a lot of vegetarian options. He sources his produce from the Chinampas, supporting these family-run farms and helping to save a vanishing tradition. This just honors the history of real cooking.
I'm really proud of my roots, and I realize that we have a lot of ingredients, a lot of recipes. I've been eating all these plates like since I was a child.
It's just such a great way to open up the eyes of people.
That's what we're trying to do.
As a Mexican-American, a pocho,
Yeah.
it's very exciting because for so many years, Mexico was looking to Europe, and now it's looking inward.
Pablo's creations are modern testaments to the Aztecs' agricultural genius, timely reminders for the residents of a very modern and congested Mexico City. If you don't know what came before you, you don't know how to move into the future.
Yeah, that's right.
Pablo hopes to take small steps towards change through his food. But if you want to eat a piece of meat at one meal, you can have 2 vegetables and a sauce made from squash seeds in another, and we can restore some balance to our world.
If you don't know your roots, you cannot like do modern cuisine, right?
Old food, young chef. The Aztec Empire may have come to a dramatic and brutal end, but their legacy is still very much alive in central Mexico. Aztec customs are rooted in the rich soil of the Chinampas, on the comal, and the metate. They live on through culinary expertise that's centuries old and remarkably relevant. So just remember, the next time you come to Mexico City, if it looks good, eat it.